Bit of a depressing topic for a Monday morning, but something creepy and just unsettling and disturbing happened last night. And it got me thinking and it got me looking at things and kept me, I'm completely gee-eyed. I was up all night reading. And I was scrolling down my Facebook news feed yesterday after I got home from work. And a friend of mine who had died about 2 or 3 years ago of cancer, fast acting cancer, had checked in at a restaurant somewhere in England. Now, I know that's not unusual because Facebook is pretty fucking sneaky that way. You sponsored posts get automatic likes, and I find that must have been extremely disturbing for the family and the loved ones who saw their late daughter, niece, friend suddenly check in online. And like, I know it's not a ghost or anything like that, but it just goes to show what scumbags Facebook really are. That they would, they don't even think about things like that yet. They would give someone a 30-day ban for saying that soy latte makes men effeminate. But anyway, it got even weirder. And someone else I know, a relative, had suddenly been diagnosed with cancer. They went into the hospital with what they thought was a lung infection, and they opened them up and found them covered in tumours. And so they've only got days to live. Now, what really was you want to call it such a thing as a malignant synchronicity, was that the name of the restaurant and the place where my friend's relative is dying of cancer had the same name. That was truly disturbing. And we all know the synchronicities happen for a reason, and they don't. Even if there's something as difficult and as horrible as that, they're still there for a reason. And then I was just thinking about people I knew that had cancer. And before I go any further, those of you who have cancer or survive cancer or family members who are dealing with cancer, this is not to make light of what you're going through. Very much the opposite. It's to try and shift the discussion, the discourse towards what this channel is kind of about. But the one of my an ex-girlfriend of mine, her boyfriend before me had died of cancer at a young age, a virulent cancer that just like chewed through stomach cancer, just ate the poor guy up in no time. And when he was, dying in the hospice, he asked to be cremated, and he said the reason he wanted to be cremated was he wanted to kill this monster inside him to take him down with him, almost like a ritual sacrifice. Because that's how he came to see the malignancy inside him as a beast, as a being, as a monster. And my mind goes from one thing to the next, and it's like, well, what is cancer? What is cancer really? And so many people, when they have cancer, they talk about they're in a battle with this thing. I remember Pierce Brosnan's first wife died of breast cancer, I think it was, and he kept referring to it as a battle against this disgusting thing. And I went onto the Wikipedia pages and I started reading up on cancer and malignancy, and it's just such a strange thing. It's like it's comparable to no other illness. It literally waits for an opportunity, like a predator. It waits for an opportunity in the physiology of the person, and then it springs into existence and starts to feed on the person. And it's so bespoke from one person to the next, how it spreads, how it reacts to medication, how it metastasizes, how it attacks different parts of the body. It really does feel like this thing is at war with people. And it really does drive home why people say things like, I'm going to battle this thing, I'm going to fight this thing. And even if you look at the conventional treatments for cancer, they are things like chemotherapy. Now, what chemotherapy is the medical equivalent of, you're with an enemy, and you've got a helmet, a military helmet, and the enemy doesn't, and someone from your side throws a grenade in the hope that it kills the enemy before it kills you. And that's literally how chemotherapy works. It's a gamble to try and kill this thing before it kills you. And I was talking to, and there's the way people would talk about the big C, like this kind of like, the whole thing, you don't whisper a demon by their name. You never call them by the name because you invoke them. Well, you ever notice that people have the same attitude towards cancer? They would say the big C, that one. And even the term the big C, this element of automatic sort of consciousness or cognitive or even spiritual submission to the to the beast, whatever. And I just was thinking about it, and just like, in the past, cancer was considered like an almost demonic force, and even Crowley called Choronzon the Lord of Cancer. And a relative of mine had stomach cancer and survived a few years back, a good few years back now, and told me that they were in this awful hospital in rural Ireland, closed down now. These hospitals are run by the Catholic Church. They're all gone now. These little regional hospitals. The death rate in them of cancer was horrific. This is why they closed all these. The government closed all these regional hospitals run by priests and nuns down, and transferred on the oncology wards, the main ones, to big hospitals in the main cities. And that's why people have to travel, long distances to get chemotherapy, because they'd have a better chance of doing that than these local regional hospitals were. But he described one of them. I'm not going to name it, but it was literally in a room with like these old guys, and they were like a priest there beside them, and they were holding rosary beads, and saying, "Oh Jesus, Father, deliver me soul unto God. Don't let me. No, I want to go to heaven. I don't want to go to hell, Father." And the priest there mumbling his incantations in Latin and whatever, another barbaric verse from that text. And this person told me it was like something from the fucking Middle Ages. And he said he came away believing that it was like an exorcism the priest was trying to perform on them. And he said the priest was a nice enough guy, but he said the whole atmosphere was, the minute you entered into it, you were dead. You had a feel, this was the general impression. Now his cancer was caught in an early stage and taken out by surgery and then follow-up treatment. But these other people were like basically on the death list. And the whole atmosphere, he said, was shocking. And he became an atheist right after, but I've kind of got him into paganism now. But he said that the whole religious approach to it was almost like enjoying the suffering, because it was built, it was developing customers for this entity. And maybe, we do know that cannabis oil absolutely does. I mean, me, I'm very skeptical of all that stuff, but there's no doubting at all that the cannabis oil has been extremely effective in treating cancers, certain kind of cancers. So, but it has definitely produced results. Maybe there's, because finally, and people say, it's because it's like a natural cure and all this, but maybe these cannabinoid receptors developed in the human body in the hope to almost send out a message saying this is the real treatment to defeat this demon inside us, and that this cancer is not just a malignant decay of cells and of body tissue, but is also an entity in and of itself. It's an action, and this is how you should fight it. It's a spiritual war, and not a religious war with rosary beads and some priest and you going, "Oh Jesus, Holy Father, save us! Oh Jesus, Father," that kind of thing. Maybe it's a real spiritual battle, and this was part of that, and it waited its time, because I mean, I look at things like the Irish Cancer Society. All my life, since the time I have been a little kid, and all the newspapers, especially that rag Daily Express, an awful newspaper, has been telling us that the cure for cancer was just around the corner. And all of this has been to raise massive amounts of money for these cancer charities, which are full of these psychopathic CEOs who who live a life of absolute luxury on the backs of human misery, both of individuals and families, and paid massive salaries, and any money that's left over from their like five-star lifestyle as CEOs of cancer charities is handed over to university research labs to do horrific testing on animals, and what's left over from that goes to corporations like big pharmaceutical corporations producing the drugs that don't seem to work completely. And there seems to be like younger people who've refused chemotherapy and treatments like that, and this I'm not talking about cannabis here, oil here. I'm talking about like refused treatment. They often would cite, and as after they did some research, that okay, the chemotherapy might work. I'm younger and strong enough to defeat it, but what 10 years down the road, your liver or your kidneys or another part of your organ will have been damaged by that treatment. Will have been damaged by that treatment. And this is the great the great dilemma. If a medical treatment is based upon attacking you in the hope that it's will kill the enemy before it kills you, well then it goes totally against Hippocrates, motto of do no harm, because you are doing harm. And it shows the treatment model is wrong, or else, to be a conspiratorial, this is just the way the big pharmaceutical companies and the cancer charities like it, because it's a gravy train. And if that's the case, and you see the head of the cancer charities and all these kinds of people and how are they demonically possessed? Is cancer an actual entity at war with humanity, attacking from the inside? Where the ancestors and the shamans correct that it's not, it's more than just the disease, that it's actually a malady caused by a consciousness that's at war with people. And that's to bring this around, that's the impression I got last night when that post came up, that freaky fucking post came up. It was almost like the entity was mocking and laughing at the family members, and mocking and laughing at anyone who accidentally saw it. It really felt that way, and it ties into what Karanzon, my theory that Karanzon is active on the internet, polluting people's consciousness and minds. And this year I've definitely seen that's true. And so our strange battle as human beings upon this planet on the spiritual level continues to evolve and develop in stranger and stranger ways. So if you have cancer yourself, or you have a family member who has cancer, my best wishes to you, and hopefully you can find a way to deal with it that doesn't allow the parasites of the major religions or the pharmaceutical companies to prey upon the suffering of you and your family. Because maybe a war is what's really needed, rather than an individual battle and people suffering alone. See you.